Ken Ham's Ark Encounter in northern Kentucky, the Ark Park as we like to call it, is a monument to ignorance. It's a $100 million lie to children. It was built by Ken Ham, a young earth creationist, to convert people to his particular brand of Christianity. And Ham isn't shy about this. On his website, he lays out a clear evangelistic goal, calling his Ark, quote, one of the greatest Christian outreaches of our era, and saying that it is meant to, quote, direct people to the Word of God and the gospel of Jesus Christ. FFRF recently filmed a commercial at the Ark, using it as an example of so much that we fight against. Public money being used to promote private religious beliefs, and the serious problem with public schools promoting religion. If the religious right remains unchecked, science-based education will be history. This will be the classroom of the future. Ken Ham's Ark Park in northern Kentucky, built with millions in taxpayer subsidies on land that the government basically gave to Ham. Thousands of people have already visited this park, which lets in public school children for $1, all to learn that dinosaurs boarded a fantasy boat along with horses and cows. The Freedom from Religion Foundation has worked to ensure that no public school will bring its students to this park, which refuses to hire LGBTQ or non-Christians. But that's just the beginning. The religious right is working to ensure that any mention of facts like evolution and climate change are kept out of our public school classrooms and textbooks. They want to funnel millions of our school children and billions of our taxpayer dollars into private Christian schools. The Freedom from Religion Foundation is fighting these dangerous abuses of power. Become a member of the Freedom from Religion Foundation today to protect science-based education and keep religion out of our public schools. It turns out that our commercial upset Ham quite a bit. Here he is.
They call this their commercial, and they're using it for a membership drive for the Freedom from Religion Foundation. It's on the front page of their website, and it got in many, many other blogs and other places, and even some news sources all across the internet.
That's footage of Ham's latest staff meeting, during which he showed our commercial, twice. He spent 20 minutes attacking FFRF.
You've heard of the Freedom from Religion Foundation because they, like the Americans United for Separation of Church and State and the ACLU, they're a group that actually, as soon as they hear of something Christian, like a nativity scene, a cross, 10 Commandments in public places somewhere, or they hear of someone at a school board that prays, or somebody in a council meeting that prays, they immediately write letters and bully them and say, we are going to sue you, that's against the Constitution. They're the group that also wrote letters to all the schools in Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, telling them that if they bring their students to the Ark, they will sue the school. All right? Here's a photograph of their staff on their website. Notice it says unabashed atheists.
Two things. Yes, FFRF works to uphold the Constitution. We work to ensure that state and church are separate. We work to stop the government from funding Christian evangelists, because doing so violates that Constitution. We are the watchers on the wall of separation, in part because the best guarantee for the freedom of religion is a government that is free from religion. Second, yes, I am an unabashed atheist. I will not be ashamed of that label. I will not be made to feel inferior because I don't believe as you do. There is no God, and that's okay. But back to the park. There is so much wrong with the park, factually, scientifically, historically, logically, even biblically, that a video debunking it all could go on for as long as Ham thinks Noah lived, 950 years. But there are two areas that Ham is especially wrong and, coincidentally, hypersensitive about: attendance at the park and the park getting public money. So let's poke that pair of bears. First, let's take a peek at the park attendance. Ham initially predicted 2 million visitors a year, but reduced that estimate by 30%, down to 1.4 million, after only 3 months of operation. Now that prediction is almost certainly too high. An independent study showed attendance peaking at 425,000 and then leveling off to about 275,000 a year after that. Because of his extravagant estimates, Ham has been touchy about attendance since before the park even opened. When FFRF filmed our commercial in the desolate Ark Park, we posted some behind-the-scenes videos. This included footage of an empty cafeteria at lunchtime and showed the empty entrance lines. Here it is.
So here we are at the Ark Park dining room. It's just after noon on Thursday, and you can see the place is completely empty. Nobody's here except for these stuffed guys.
In response to our commercial and that behind-the-scenes footage, Ken Ham took to Facebook Live. He launched an hour-long defense of his Ark, meant to show how many people were visiting.
It's interesting, the secularists come out here sometimes and they'll take a photograph of just a few people outside here and say, there's nobody here. You know where they are? They're in here. As you can see, the secularists are right. There's nobody here. Nobody comes. As you can see, the secularists are right. Nobody comes. Yeah, it's a gigantic failure. Yeah, that's what they're saying. People like the Freedom from Religion Foundation. So what do you say to all the secularists who are out there telling people, all the fake news they do these days, and they say nobody comes to the Ark and the whole thing's a failure and all that? And it's interesting how the secularists are out there saying, it's done nothing and it's a failure. And for all those secularists that like to go tell people nobody comes to the Ark, you should actually come to the Ark, see it yourself at the right time.
At the right time. Well, first of all, there is no right time to visit the Ark. It's not worth anybody's time or money. And he got touchy about the attendance during his staff meeting, too.
Thousands of people have already visited this park, which lets in public school children for $1.
Actually, hundreds of thousands have already visited the park. And we did last year, for just the rest of the year, say we're going to offer to public school students to come for $1 if they come as an organised class group.
The amazing thing about this sensitivity is that we secularists would stop pointing out that it looks like nobody is visiting the Ark if there was evidence to suggest otherwise. Give us evidence. If Ham wants to end this debate, he can, very easily. All he has to do is release the attendance numbers. That is the kind of evidence and data that we atheists like to base our conclusions on. Facts. Ham should know that evidence will change our minds. It ought to be seared into Ham's brain as the moment that Bill Nye utterly crushed him during their debate.
What, if anything, would ever change your mind?
The answer to that question is, I'm a Christian. As Christians, we can say we know. And so, as far as the Word of God is concerned, no. No one's ever going to convince me that the Word of God is not true.
Mr. Nye?
We would just need one piece of evidence.
That's all we need. Evidence. Just release the numbers. But I don't think he'll do that. Ham brags about all manner of untruths. He parades his belief in the unbelievable, in that for which there is not a shred of evidence. And even he won't brag about the true numbers for his park. But the fact that Ham hasn't released these numbers says far more about the Ark than any of the photos and videos he's been trading with atheists. So let's move on to the second point that Ham hates to have mentioned, that his Ark is only afloat because of public money. Here he is during that Facebook Live video, bemoaning reality and trying to co-opt the fake news bit.
This fake news, and that's what it is, fake news, that actually is being disseminated by the secularists, that we receive all sorts of state government subsidies and all sorts of taxpayer money. And we haven't received $1 in state government money or taxpayer money.
That's Ken Ham saying we haven't received $1 in state government money or taxpayer money. First, anybody employed at the Ark suffers a 2% tax on their wages. 100% of that tax goes to pay back the Ark Park bonds. So that's a tax on taxpayers that benefits the Ark. Grant County actually gave Ham cash and land. Ham received a reimbursement of $194,000 from the county because he overpaid for some land. Ham also complains.
Somebody today actually on the internet was saying that the government gave us land. They just tell outright lies.
Hi Ken, that was me. I said that, and I stand by it. But Ken doubled down on this in his staff meeting.
We paid, $7 million, I think, for the land. Is that about right? Yeah. What's that? It was quite a lot. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The government didn't give us the land.
Now, Ham did buy some land, but here's a screenshot of his contract with Grant County and Williamstown. It says that the county gave him 99 acres of land for $1. That same county also gave him $194,000. So basically, the county gave him $193,999 and 100 acres of land. But these are really small potatoes compared to some of the other tax breaks and subsidies the Ark Park is getting. And here's the thing. Ken Ham knows that he's not being completely truthful about the public financing. I'm sure he's just telling himself that he's splitting hairs and being explicit about how the money is flowing to his park. But if so, he's just lying to himself. And if you need proof, how about Ken Ham swearing under penalty of perjury? When Ken Ham sued the state for revoking some of these incentives, which it did because of Ham's discriminatory hiring practices, he sued. He began that lawsuit by filing a verified complaint. That means, as you can see on this last page of the lawsuit, that Ham declared under penalty of perjury that everything he wrote in the complaint was true and correct. Among the things he alleged as true and correct were some facts about the impact the availability of public money had on his choice to build the Ark. The Ark Park chose to build in northern Kentucky, not only because of its proximity to the Creation Museum, but also due to the availability of incentives for tourism attractions from the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And Ark Encounter LLC would not have pursued the project in Kentucky but for the incentives provided by the Commonwealth. State incentives, state money. These incentives could be up to $18 million. Basically, the state returns the Ark Park's sales tax for 10 years to cover up to 25% of the building costs. That's up to $18 million. Again, this is from the Ark Park's verified complaint, verified under penalty of perjury. Ham's argument is really that the park is paying sales tax and that the government is giving that sales tax back, so it's not public money. This is a pretty bad argument. The money goes into the public treasury, and then later, sometimes a year later, it goes to Ham. That's public money. And that's just a piece of the bigger pie. Williamstown issued $62 million in high-risk, unrated municipal bonds, and the Ark's property taxes go to paying those bondholders back, not to the taxpayers. And remember that 2% tax on Ark employees? That also goes to paying those bondholders back. That money would be going into the public treasury or to these employees' bank accounts, but for Ken Ham. That's money that should be supporting the local community, but instead, it's repaying junk bonds. So yes, Ken Ham was given and will be given more public money. He was given land. If anyone asks Ken Ham what floats his boat, his proper response should be public money. Think about that, Ken, and remember, if you want to convince us that your Ark is thriving, release those numbers. In the meantime, the Freedom from Religion Foundation will continue fighting to keep state and church separate. We'd like you to join us in that fight, so please visit ffrf.org today.